What's good, everybody? It's your boy Tico on Blitz, back at it again with another video. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Tier 10 Italian autoloading medium, the Lion. It is another one of those vehicles that carries a reserve shell, which basically means that you only want to fire it if absolutely necessary. Shell 1 and 2 have the lowest reload times, but Shell 1 is where the reserve shell mechanic for having the longest reload would take into effect, which would basically account for if you already have dealt with a certain flank and you already know that you can finish off the last vehicle within the vicinity of hit points to where your average alpha can exceed those limits, then that is where that reserve shell can be fired if absolutely necessary. So then you can rely on your maneuverability factors while reloading to take care of the rest of the flank occurring on the other side of the map. In terms of the other physical stats of the vehicle, it has 180 on the front of its turret and 120 on the front of its hull. And this is what the armor profile looks like. A very weird design, considering that it is the complete opposite to what some of us are aware of in terms of individual armor profiles. The outskirts of the turret are normally weak spots, but in this case on the Lion, they are troll spots. And the gun mantlet is the complete opposite as well, to where it would be like the most powerful point to where you get the most occasional bounces here and there. But for the Lion, that is sincerely not the case. Upwards of about 137 to 138 mils. Basically would not make a difference when using its 8 degrees of gun depression, because the full-on gun mantlet is vulnerable still by standard ammunition. It does thicken these little side skirts beside the gun mantlet to a substantial amount, but not as much as what you can picture it. Not when I'm loading in my premiums. Now you can butter through them without a hassle. You saw that upper plate as well was thickened to it a little bit, but now with 300 mils, it's not going to be the case. Especially when running Cali, then yeah, you're going to have no problems cutting through this vehicle whatsoever. So then once we make our way towards the side of the vehicle, the side of the turret is upwards of 73 to 71, and then the full-on side is upwards of 52 to 54, to which HE, surprisingly enough, of 66 millimeters can butter right through the side profile. You would just have to hit it in the right spot in order to do the maximum amount of damage. Same would also account for the far back of the turret right here, and even the rear where the engine deck is located. For the auto-loading capabilities to what this vehicle features, it's just shy of 2,900 damage per minute with a 3.33 second intra-clip reload time in between your shells, and average penetration levels that are very similar to that of a Leopard 1, sitting at 261 on the standard, 339 on the premium, and 66 on the high explosive. That accounts for running calibrated shells. And for the average damage, you're sitting at 340 on the standard, 290 on the premium, and 430 on the high explosive. To which, if you want to exceed those damage numbers to an extensive amount, you do have tungsten rounds associated with that purpose. Surprisingly enough, mounted on an autoloader in the aspects of that. And then for your maneuverability, you go 52 forward and 21 in reverse. Well, you have a pretty good power to weight of 21.8 along with that. Should also mention that this vehicle is being sold in lock boxes, to where you would basically have to win battles in order to gain access toward them. But another little thing upon Wargaming's money laundering schemes is that you would have to buy keys and in order to open those lock boxes. And it's a 3% drop chance while in the lines of that as well. Probably not something worth it along the lines of that. I was just lucky enough, apparently, to get it as I did have a spare key left in my storage, and I instantly got the vehicle. I do not know how or why, but I guess thanks Wargaming in that aspect. So here we are lurking on into game number 1 then. Let's see what they got. Looks like a WZ-120. That is the only medium they have, surprisingly enough. All right. And we got our good old Hazards players with us right here. Very interested to see how these guys would fare well. So let's go ahead and mosey our way all the way over to the left. Let's see what enemies are going to be lurking on out over here then. I'm just going to be heading all the way wide over here. I want to be sincerely careful just in case if anybody's trying to heck me off while I'm trying to cross right over here. So, alright. I guess we can use our gun depression right here for the most part. We got that Yo spotted off in the back. Let's see if we can maybe get a slap into him if we can spot him. Just barely, but okay, that shell looked like it was a direct hit apart from that. There's a direct hit. Okay, I don't really know what the heck the first shell did, but apparently the second one hit. So that's pretty good. So we got the VK off to the side. Let's see if we can maybe outspot his turret. possibly not going to be the case, and it looks like that the majority of their vehicles are possibly going to be sitting on back over towards the far side of the map. So we're going to make a very aggressive maneuver and then just go right on over and flank directly behind it, because that's the duty of a medium right there. So we got both of our shells reloaded back. We got the enemy Destiny off towards the back side of the map. We got that WZ-120 as well. So we're going to mosey our way over towards these two enemies right over here. Hopefully we have enough velocity. Okay, perfect. In order to go up on that ridge line right there. That's really good. Apparently our enemies are getting cleared. We got the WZ off to the back right there. That is a very crazy bounce, I should mention. So let's go ahead and make that up for another nice tap into his vehicle. And then we go ahead and reload once again. We're going to head right on up over here then. Going to play fairly passive. We got that Destiny off to the back right there. He does try to fire an HE. Does not end up faring out well to his ability. We got both of our shells reloaded back in our clip, and we got that WZ right off to the side. One slap for 331. Reloading again. We got that Destiny. I'm going to back on up a little just in case if this guy ends up coming on forward, which it looks like it's not going to be the case. So I'm going to head right on up over here. We got that Piranha off to the far side right there too. This gun. Unfortunately enough. But we do have auto-loading capabilities to where I think we can get another tap into him. Got that Destiny off to the side. Apparently he's going to be a threat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head all the way around then and try to see if I can help out my E4 with this Destiny. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. We got all of our shells reloaded back in our clip. So let's go ahead and mosey on forward then. We're going to go ahead and get a glimpse of this guy's lower plate right here. He does hit us for 487. That's totally all right. Let's get 2 taps into his vehicle. And this would be the beneficial time in order to fire the reserve shell right there. There we go. Beautiful demonstration as apart from that. We got the Piranha coming on through. It looks like that I did not hit this guy, unfortunately enough. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. Reloading again in 5 seconds. So I'm just going to wait right here until I have most of my shells reloaded back in my clip. Got that E4 making a very aggressive move right there. Apparently, I can't do anything in order to counter that. So I'm going to back on up then just a tiny little bit. We got that Ritter coming on out. 430 max roll into his vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get a finishing clear into him. Unfortunately, low rolling. But I think this would also not be a beneficial time in order to fire the reserve shell, unfortunately enough. And the E4 is basically screwing me right here. So I'm going to have to get 1 tap into you. And let's go ahead and get the finishing clear off into you. Fire the reserve shell, but that's totally all right. Not that this was going to be a win anyways, but 3,251 damage. What more can you ask for as apart from that? Freaking teams nowadays just don't even know how to hold off certain flanks off to the best of their ability. And pretty much, I am mainly reliant on having to carry my teams specifically for a purpose like this. All right. Let's go ahead and plop on into game number 2 then, see how we can fare well. The auto-loading capabilities of this tank, don't get me wrong, feel incredibly nice. I mean, those 2 shells, because you have a much more rapid reload time than expected, you're able to just dump out those shells upwards of about 300 damage. Especially with Tungsten you saw there, we got some pretty good rolls as a bar from that too. So, really interested to see what we can do in their next battle right here. What do they got in terms of their mediums? Looks like they got the Prog. We got that 95E6 once again in our battle. A TVP. Very interesting lineup. So, let's see what we can do as apart from that. We're going to head on over to the left, see what we can do as opposed to, as a part of dealing with these guys, in case if they do end up coming on through towards this flank. So, let's see what we can do. Got that Prog already spotted off to the side. Let's see if we can do anything in order to counter his vehicle. It looks like he's going to be relying on his gun depression for the most part. To wish we could just butter through his turret like no tomorrow. We got that Prog right there. Let's go ahead and just barely missing the hatch, unfortunately enough. So, but the good news is that we have enough time in order to reload that shell back in our clip. So let's see. It looks like the Leopard's going to be going up top. I'm going to be doing the same thing. Actually, you know what? No, there's a 53 TP right there. Yeah, so I'm going to back on down just a tiny bit right there. I'm going to see if this Prog is going to make a dire mispoke as apart from that. We also got that TVP coming on up towards the side. 421 slap into his vehicle. Let's get a second tap for 310 into his vehicle as well. Got that Prog off to the side. Let's go ahead and reload. Let's see if we can maybe get a slap into his vehicle real quick. There we go. 323 into the side of his turret. All right. Beautiful example right there. Again, just demonstrating the sheer power of this gun and the auto-loading capabilities to what it features. It feels pretty nice just dumping that amount of damage out in a more rapid period of time than ever. So we're going to head on over towards this enemy 50 TP right over here. I'm going to still rely on my gun depression while at it. We're going to plop on our Tungsten while at it. So we're going to get right onto this guy's side. Let's get 1 slap into him. Let's go ahead and get 2 slaps into him. And he is clear. That is beautiful right there. All right. We got a 183 off in the back. I would really be interested to see what this guy is going to be doing as apart from his behalf. But I'm not really concerned. I'm going to head on over towards these enemies right over here, see what we can do. We got that Type 68 off in the back. Really would love to get some nice taps into his vehicle, as we do have all the shells loaded back into our clip. So we got that enemy Type right off in the back right there. There's one tap for 371. Let's get a second tap into his vehicle for 344. And then we're going to mosey right on up towards his vehicular then. Honestly, I don't really know where that 183 is at, and that is a little concerning right there. Got that Piranha off to the side as well. We're going to go ahead and... Okay, why does my teammate block me? That's surprising. We got 345 out of his vehicle right there. There's the 183. Okay, I was waiting for him as apart from that. So we're going to head on over towards this 95 E6 then. We're going to go ahead and... We're going to go ahead and get the finishing clear into him, I was going to mention. We also got the Type. Let's go ahead and fire a second shot into him. And we have 3 seconds, unfortunately, in order to reload our clip, but that's totally all right. Got that 183 off in the back. Let's go ahead and see what we can do upon further... Okay, I was going to say further stuff. But another prime example right there of the sheer power of the Lion. I mean, the gun feels nice. I mean, I've said that twice already after the past couple battles, but it's true. I mean, the intra-clip reload times feel much nice dumping that extensive damage amount out. Another 3,500 damage right there, and another top on the team in that aspect. So I do gotta say, I'm gonna drop the mic in terms of that, unfortunately enough. I do gotta say that this is a very nice vehicle. Being able to just dump out 300 damage in an extensive period of time, now that's something you don't see every day lurking on a vehicle that's in the shape of a Leopard 1. I mean, the Leopard has good DPM as well. I think just above 3,000 if I'm not mistaken. But you can exceed those numbers just as well in a vehicle that looks very similar in shape to it. But the DPM levels, pretty much a Progetto 65, just in the form of one with tungsten. That's pretty much the only advantage that the Lion would ever have. Very solid vehicle. Still would not recommend to get them with lockboxes or just waste your hard-earning life savings in order to attempt to test your luck to get this vehicle. I just like it regardless. I mean, it's really nice as apart from that. So hopefully you guys did end up enjoying today's video on the other hand. And if you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And make sure to turn on those bell notifications while you're at it so you do not miss out on any new videos or streams. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out, y'all.